Is your confidence in the vaccine increased or decreased as a result of the fact that studies about its safety and efficacy were conducted in China? One of the more important activities or programs, for want of a better word, that Judicial Watch has been involved in since 2020 is a full-throated investigation, which includes litigation of the COVID mess. We've been investigating everything from how they came up with these lockdowns and the back and forth there. We've been investigating the origins of the virus. We've been investigating the vaccines. Everything that you could think to be investigated, we're trying to do it. And in many cases, we've actually gone to court to successfully, in key measures, get some of this information. So pretty much everything important we know about the vaccines has come out as a result of Judicial Watch. Everything important we know about the details of the origin of the virus and who knew what and when about it have come out thanks to Judicial Watch. And along the lines of that, we have just uncovered new documents that I think Americans are going to be upset about because they were hidden from Americans, and Judicial Watch fought and fought for them and got some new details on COVID-19 vaccine studies that were conducted in China. Yes, China. We had filed a lawsuit about the vaccine testing. Specifically, we were looking for biodistribution studies for the COVID-19 vaccines. Now, what is biodistribution? It's basically where does the vaccine go after it's injected. I think that's my non-scientific way of describing it. Now, they've described the vaccine previously when it first came out. Oh, don't worry, you get it shot in your arm and it gets it's pretty much over by the time it gets away from your arm and it doesn't really settle in too many places in the body. Well, it turns out that wasn't true, as uncovered in these biodistribution studies that Judicial Watch uncovered, where they were finding that the liponanoparticles, which is the delivery vehicle for the mRNA, those materials were showing up in animal studies in other organs, like the liver, right? Like the heart. And some of the documents describe these tests, and what was interesting is they withheld where the tests were given, where the studies were conducted of the rats and such. And we pushed and pushed, and we finally got the documents. And what was the basis for withholding the information? It was the confidential commercial information exemption. And so if a third party gives information to the government and it includes confidential business data, and someone asks for it through FOIA, sometimes that confidential business data can be withheld from the public disclosure. Now, we objected in this case because we didn't think the data was confidential. I'm sure that I shouldn't say we objected. I'm confident that was our concern. So to make a long story short, information that previously had been kept secret was released to Judicial Watch. And essentially there are these studies, and you can see that Pfizer, and these are from the biotech Pfizer company, this is what this is. There's this little disclaimer here. This document contains confidential information belonging to biotech Pfizer, except as may be otherwise agreed to in writing. By accepting or reviewing these materials, you agree to hold such information in confidence and not to disclose it to others except when required by applicable law, nor to use it for unauthorized purposes. In the event of actual or suspected breach of this obligation, biotech Pfizer should be promptly notified. So it's labeled confidential. So you can see why we had difficulty getting this document. And so this is what the document looks like, and I'm sure we'll just pop it up on screen. So you see all these charts, and I'm not going to go through the data and such because I'm not prepared to do that. But on page 4, for instance, of this, they tell us where the study took place, and it says Shanghai, China. Now, for whatever reason, I wonder what that reason is, they didn't want us to know about it till now. Why were they concerned about it? Much of the rest of the document had been released. Why were they hiding where the study took place? Well, given the alleged origin of the virus, you can be sure why they didn't want us to know where the study took place. Is your confidence in the vaccine increased or decreased as a result of the fact that studies about its safety and efficacy were conducted in China? And I'm not saying you should answer that question one way or another. I'm just asking you. And you can bet the corrupt bureaucrats that run our national public health agencies, they were worried. And that's why they withheld the information. But we got it out. They were also conducting studies in England. I guess that's not the end of the world, right? But this is information that we have a right to know. Look, as I've said before, the American people have a right to as much information as possible about the safety and efficacy and side effects and risks and benefits, you name it, about the COVID vaccine. This is the most important medical treatment in the history of modern man, for good and for bad, some might say, depending on your point of view. And so we are committed to getting this information out from the government. And Judicial Watch, the fact that Judicial Watch needed a federal lawsuit to find out that the vaccine or key components of the vaccine were tested back in China. By the way, it was in August of 2020. So this is after it became clear that, well, let's put it this way. It was after the virus emerged, obviously. So I just can't believe they tried to hide this. And the fact that they tried to hide it speaks volumes. And my comment in the release, which is worth sharing, the Biden administration's stonewalling and shell games about the COVID vaccines further undermine public confidence in these controversial drugs. Americans are now going to want to know, why did the Biden operation try to hide these COVID vaccine ties to China? I want to know. And you can bet we're going to be asking more questions. So once again, it's Judicial Watch to the rescue here in terms of getting basic information about these COVID vaccines that this awfully corrupt government doesn't want you to know. And let me just say this again. Again, another issue worth remembering. I complain about the deep state in the Justice Department. I complain about the deep state in the FBI, this sort of corruption here in our government at the federal level, where these agencies think they know better than the American people and don't think they are accountable to the American people. But don't you just think that it's just the FBI and Justice Department, the CDC, the FDA, NIH, Fauci's agency over at NIH, Fauci himself. They have as much contempt and arrogance for the American people's right to know and right to direct their own lives and right to direct their own government has any corrupt official at DOJ, any James Comey or John Brennan or people like that. I mean, Fauci's retiring in December, in large part, I would submit, because of work that Judicial Watch has uncovered, that it has exposed his dishonesty and corruption and questions even about his finances. So accountability is often a tough slog here in Washington, D.C., but it's essential if we're going to keep the republic. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like our video down below.